Okay, guys, welcome back to Let's Get Freaky podcast. Very excited for our guest tonight. Tonight, we welcome to the Freaky fam, Nathaniel Elwell. How are you, brother? Welcome
Man,
to the show.
I'm doing great. Thank you. I appreciate you guys taking the time to have me on to come and chat with you.
Man, I'm excited to talk to you, man. I saw your Instagram a little while ago and I was like, I'm going to talk to this dude. He looks cool. And here we are. So thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, no need to thank me. I'm happy to do it.
So you are founder and director of Segra Paranormal.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and a little bit about all your projects and then what got you into this paranormal world that we're in now?
So, Segra Paranormal is a paranormal team that is based out of Alabama. So, obviously, right now I'm in New Hampshire. I'm also the founder of the Newport Paranormal Society here in New Hampshire. So, Segra Paranormal is currently being run by my co-founder, but pretty much all the decisions they go through me. I have been, all over the place. I've been to the Sloss Furnaces in Birmingham, Alabama. I've been to the Old Bryce Mental Institute in Tuscaloosa. I've been to the Castillo de San Marcos in St. Augustine, Florida. I've been to the oldest jail in the United States in St. Augustine. I've been to the Lizzie Borden house. I've been all over the place. So, 18 years experience in doing the paranormal field. And I kind of utilize my skills to go through TikTok and I teach people that not everything is what you see. Sometimes you have to look between the lines because there are people out there that push that their product is real as far as paranormal related content, but it's really not if you just take a deeper delve into it.
Hmm. Interesting, man. So you've seen a lot of places. I'm guessing had quite a few experiences.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
did you have experiences as a kid? Was this something that you sort of grew up with?
So I had a few experiences as a kid. We did live over in a place called Rochester, New Hampshire, and we lived in a haunted apartment and used to hear marbles rolling down the stairs at night, but we would never be able to find the marbles in the morning. So we always thought that was kind of interesting. And then I had an experience in Alabama. I want to say I was 17 or 18. And basically, I had a dog named Stormy who was my pit bull. She used to sleep on my bed every night. And there was a night that she ended up losing her faculty. She was like 17 years old, which is kind of old for a pit bull. And well, I kicked her out of the room, told her you can't come and sleep in here anymore, blah, blah, blah. Well, then that night she ended up passing away in the living room. So obviously I felt guilt for that. I felt horrible about it. And the next night was when the strange things started. So I don't know if maybe she was there protecting me. That's why she only slept in my room. But the next night, I would wake up to a tugging by the feet of my blanket, like there was tugging on my blanket. After about 3 or 4 times, me half asleep, I'm like, Stormy, can you stop tugging on the blankets? And I kicked my foot back, and my foot hit something solid. And that's when it popped in my head. What did I just kick? I don't have a footboard, and Stormy died this morning. And I
Whoa,
heard a voice that did not sound human say my name.
whoa.
Instant, instant goosebumps. Room went almost ice cold. And it took me about 5 minutes. I don't know if I can. Do I have to watch my language?
Like, you can say what you want, man. This is
Okay, so just
adults.
wanted to ask. So basically, it got about 5 minutes after I heard that voice. I finally mustered the balls to roll over and grab my flashlight. And when I turned it on, I noticed my closet door was wide open. I'm OCD about having doors open. Like in my house, doors are shut, all of them. Bathroom
Mhm.
door, closet doors, bedroom doors. Doesn't matter if no one's in that room, the door is shut. And so this reoccurred probably 3 or 4 times that I experienced this tugging on my blanket and waking up to the closet door being open. So it kind of progressed to starting hearing scratching noises on the sideboard of my bed. Now, after a few days of this, I walked into my bedroom and I realized there was literal scratch marks in the sideboard. And they weren't there before Stormy died, so I don't know where they came from. Never have been able to explain that one. And then the knocking on my window started. I would wake up for about 4 months straight every morning at 3 a.m., 3 sets of 3 taps on my bedroom window. Now, I had people that didn't believe me that this was happening, so I had them come over and crash in my bedroom. I have about 8 witnesses that witnessed this happening. And when I would open the blinds, no one would be at the window.
Wow.
And then nightmares, started having nightmares. I don't believe it was anything demonic. So I want to throw that out there.
Hmm.
Um, I believe that 90% of what people think are demonic is not a demonic entity. It's most likely just a disgruntled human entity.
Hmm.
So, but something started giving me nightmares where I was envisioning myself dying in very violent ways. And that happened for multiple months. It finally got to the point where me and my fiance at that time had gotten married. And I was like, you know what? I've got to get out of this house. So we moved to a trailer over in a small town called Clayhatchee, Alabama. Now, this town is so small that if you blinked while driving through it, you probably never even knew you drove through it. One of those kind of towns. Now, the trailer that we lived in, there's no street lights within probably 50 yards of this trailer. So when you shut off all the lights, when I say pitch black, I mean, you can't see your hand in front of your face. I used to work night shifts at McDonald's. I supervised at McDonald's for almost 14 years before I came here to New Hampshire, and now I build bridges. So that's a completely different, aspect of work. I would come home at 3 in the morning and see shadows moving inside of the kitchen. I'd go inside thinking my ex-wife was awake. Everyone would be asleep. So it's really weird because as fast as the occurrences started, they ended, and they ended on the night that I went to bed, and it's still kind of difficult to talk about because it's freaky. I don't know if you've ever experienced something known as sleep paralysis.
Hmm. Yeah, I've had
It's
that.
one of the If you've never experienced it, it's one of the freakiest things in the world.
Hmm.
So I woke up about 3:30 in the morning because I didn't have to work that night. So I spent the day with the ex and the kids. I woke up, pressure on my chest and my throat. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. And it seemed like it was an hour, but let's be honest, when you're in that state, it's probably more like a matter of seconds. I shook it off, and there was a blacker than black figure standing at the foot of the bed. It drifted backwards into the hallway. And as I watched it dissipate, the light bulb in the hallway got extremely bright and shattered. And that was the last time I had an experience. And it was that very next day that I went and bought my first book on the paranormal and started researching.
Wow, man. So that was that was the ending of that period of experiences.
Yeah, that was what got me into it.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, heavy stuff, man. I mean, I've experienced sleep paralysis quite regularly, but not as much now, but I used to, and it is terrifying. One of the
It
most
is.
terrifying. It's a horrible position to be in. Obviously,
It
you
is. And a lot
can't
of people,
move.
and there's multiple different types of sleep
Hmm.
paralysis too, though. And that's what people don't realize. Sometimes you can move your fingertips, you just can't move the rest of your body.
Hmm.
Sometimes you feel that pressure and you can't move at all. And then sometimes you have what happened to me was where you wake up and you see a figure. Now, could that be some kind of visual hallucination based on the fact that you just woke up and can't move? Yes, you know what? I can't rule that out of the realm of plausibility. But I cannot explain how the light bulb got so bright and then broke. That I
Yeah,
can't explain away. But
that's wild.
what I experienced is known as an old hag attack in the paranormal. It's basically where there's a figure that's trying to do something to your body while you're sleeping. What it is, you really don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was terrifying.
Wow, man. It's wild you say the old hag attack because I've talked about it on the show before, and this is your episode, so I won't go too much into what I
Oh, you're
experienced.
good. I'd like to hear.
But I would describe as what was attacking me at the time. So in my old flat where I lived before I live now, I used to get it about once a week at least, probably sometimes more, and it was horrible. And I didn't always at the time put it down to being paranormal. I thought that it could be stress and stuff like that, which I'm not completely ruling out, but that whatever was attacking me, I couldn't see it. I couldn't look around the room to see it, but it was in my mind's eye, and this thing was like a black mass of evil that I would say. And in my mind, it was a witch. Like I didn't know it was. I didn't know that. It was just like a knowing this is a witch. And when I started looking into it and finding out a bit more, and so many people get attacked by what you just said, the hag, and that's now what I call it. But I mean, yeah, very weird that you say that, man, and terrifying.
Oh, it's absolutely, and I feel sorry for anyone who has ever experienced it, especially when the first time you experience it,
Hmm.
because you don't sleep for days
Oh man, it's
sometimes.
very strange. Yeah, it's a very strange experience. 'Cause obviously, you're not in control, and
Right.
I was like battling this entity in my mind. I'm like swearing at it. I'm telling it to go off. Eventually, prayer sort of helped me and got rid of it. And then I think moving to the new house. I have had it in this house, but it seems to be something else in this house. It's very strange. But
I,
yeah,
I do
man.
know. I do know that this house has a few spirits in it. This house was actually built in 1856. It's an old farmhouse. I know there's a few spirits here, and I'm pretty sure one of them comes from the haunted doll that's in my closet. I would love to take that out and show you, but it's a pain in the ass to dig out.
Yeah,
The
that's
case,
okay.
the
They
case,
scare
it's
me.
yeah, the case itself weighs about 30 pounds. So
Wow.
and I found it that way. It was sitting on the side of the road. I knocked on the door and I asked the lady, "Hey, what are you doing with that clown doll?" And all I hear is a yell from the living room. If he wants that godforsaken thing, he could take it home. And
Whoa.
that should have been my first clue.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'll take it. Here's the
Yeah.
funny thing. It was my ex who told me it was there, and she's terrified of this kind of stuff. So imagine how she felt when she came home and found it on the back porch.
Oh, wow.
She was like, "What is that doing here?" I said, "This is actually kind of your fault if you think about it.
Yeah.
Don't bring
Man.
stuff up like that to me and not expect me to bring it home."
So what sort of things did it do? Like,
So the crazy experience I have with this one is my daughter came up from Florida and we had the doll in the house. So mind you, the case itself is plexiglass, but the actual doll is ceramic. So the first thing I thought was odd was when we grabbed the doll off the side of the road, the back latch of the case came open. It should not have been able to do that. The doll fell out face first, but its foot broke. That doesn't make any sense. It's ceramic. The face should have shattered. It hit a curb. There's no way that should have held up.
mhm.
So that was the first strange thing. Second strange thing, my daughter comes up from Florida. So another thing I do on my YouTube channel is I download and test out paranormal applications from the App Store to tell people which ones work and which ones don't, which ones are user friendly for investigative style purposes.
Mhm.
We ran 3 different apps, and over 3 different apps, we got an identical name that is not a common name. 3 different apps said the name Ian. The only other thing we got was on the spirit box app that I use called Sono X10. And it came through and we said, if there's something in this doll, what is going on right now? Why do you seem like you're affecting us? And it said sad, broken foot. Considering the fact that the foot on the doll was broken and I tried multiple times to glue it back together and it wouldn't go back together.
Whoa.
So that was kind of
That's
crazy.
wild. Yeah. Yeah.
So we took it back out to the garage because that's where it resided because the garage is not connected to the house. Well, my ex goes down to visit her mom in Massachusetts. I'm like, "Oh, you're coming back in the house with me, buddy." So I grabbed him, took him inside, and sat him on the dining room table. Went to bed that night after doing a few app tests. I didn't have anything come through. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it was just a one-time occurrence. Maybe it was audio pareidolia. It could have been multiple different things that we were hearing. Went upstairs, went to sleep, and had a nightmare of a clown chasing me up the stairs from the basement. So got up the next morning. Mind you what I said earlier. This case weighs about 30 pounds and the doll's ceramic. Had it sitting on the dining room table when I went to bed. When I got up, the chair at the dining room table was knocked over and the case was on the floor. There's
No.
no way on a floor that's hard wood. I did not hear that. And that doll did not break, considering the table's about 4.5, maybe 5 feet in height.
Oh, man. And you've still got it.
I still got it. It's in my closet.
Whoa.
The three times
That's
I,
wild.
the 3 times I've tried to get rid of it to a friend of mine, something came up and wasn't able to take it.
Wow.
And the other odd thing
Man.
about it is my brother's severely chlorophobic. He's deathly afraid of clowns. He wants to put the doll in his room.
Wow. Why is that?
No idea. But I kind of have a feeling that knowing the fact that he's chlorophobic, as a matter of fact, I played a prank on him once, told him we were going to the mall, and I took him to the circus.
Yeah.
And he was not a fan of that. But you
No.
know what? Gotta have fun, right?
Yeah, for
But yeah,
sure.
for some reason, he wants this clown doll. And I don't
That's
understand it.
wild.
And maybe it's the energy attached to it, trying to play off of his fears, seeing it as a plausible way in.
Hmm.
So it stays here in my room. I bless it once a month, and it stays in my closet.
Wow, man. Yeah, you're braver than me, brother. That'd be gone. That'd be
Well,
gone.
the way I look at it is if I get rid of it, right,
Hmm.
it now becomes someone else's problem.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
a lot of what I do in the paranormal is I do a lot of residential cases. So I go in to help people. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to put that burden on somebody else when I feel like I can properly contain it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool, man. I had the my good friends, the Orney brothers, on the show, and they bought a clown from a thrift shop, and they were getting some weird activity from this clown, and one day the clown, like they could hear the clown talking, and they had to get it in the back of the car, and they drove off, and they I think they threw it in the forest. I can't remember where they threw it, but they got rid of it. But he could still hear the clown like as they were driving off.
Why's it always got to be creepy dolls too?
Oh, I don't know,
Always.
man. They're so freaky. I mean, my I've got daughters, so they've got dolls, and even like the dolls that I don't think are haunted, they freak me out. So it's just something weird when you go in their bedroom at night and they're looking, and you're like, oh, jeez.
I guess in a way you could look at a doll. Someone cherishes that doll at some point in life. Who
Hmm.
knows how many different emotions that doll sees? So maybe it's just
For
like a
sure.
house. Maybe a doll can retain a similar to stone tape theory type effect,
Hmm. Yeah.
where it can absorb the energy that's being put out, similar as to what a mirror would do. There's a lot of people out there that own haunted mirrors because who knows how many emotions that mirror's seen over
Hmm.
the years.
Yeah, that's so
So
true. Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe that's part of it, that they're just able to absorb it into the fabric of their being via the stone tape theory.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting, man. Yeah, I do think there's something to that. Objects that carry energy, and obviously on a lot of occasions haunted objects, which freaky stuff, man, for sure. Go.
I own a few of them, so not
Yeah.
not not dolls. That's the only doll. But I've got a vial of soil from Vlad the Impaler's castle that was given to me. A
Wow.
lady found it in her storage shed. Said she brought it home and started having vivid nightmares of a man she couldn't recognize that did not speak English. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The history of the vial is inside the capsule, like it's actually in the box, right?
Hmm.
I think she had a psychosomatic effect. I think she read the history, looked up who this person was, and it freaked her out. Because
Interesting.
because I've experienced nothing since I've had that, but it was supposedly haunted.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you
And I'm
think that in some cases that happens where we our imaginations run wild and we can create manifest these things?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So they're actually I'm be doing a podcast on this where with Miss C.L. Thomas here. I think next month. It's called a tulpa. It's
Hmm.
basically you're creating a thought form or a thought energy, and you're imprinting it into the atmosphere. And once you imprint it into the atmosphere, it then becomes a physical being that's technically metaphysical, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
So we're going to be doing a whole discussion on that. So I don't want to ruin that podcast.
Interesting. Interesting though, man. Can I just ask you, do you think that's possibly what some of these cryptids are that people
Oh yeah.
see?
Oh yeah, I think some of them absolutely. Like you have so many cryptids out there that only appear once or twice throughout history, and you never hear them again. The Dover
Hmm.
Demon's a great example.
Hmm.
Dover Demon was sighted for what, 3 days,
Hmm.
and then just
What
disappeared.
was that one? What did that look like? If you can
Oh, it
just.
was it was almost an alien looking creature, kind of short, big eyes, very very freaky looking thing. And I also the same thing with the rake.
Yeah.
The rake was a creepy pasta before it was ever a cryptid, but maybe people have thought about it so much and imprinted that energy out into the atmosphere that people are
Yeah.
now physically starting to see this thing, similar to Slender Man. Slender Man was a creepy pasta before people considered it a cryptid. It's
Hmm.
still a creepy pasta. It doesn't exist.
Hmm. Yeah. But can our energies actually create it and
Right.
make it real?
Right, and that's why I said, that's going to be a very interesting topic,
Yeah.
considering I'm doing all the research for that now because it was a topic when I was approached about it that I was like, look, I know nothing about this topic. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, but I'm definitely going to dive headlong into research and we're going to make this happen.
Yeah. Interesting, man. Maybe we could do an episode on that one time. We just focus on that. I mean,
I'd be down for that.
you look at some of these like these famous haunted locations, and you get a lot of paranormal groups going there, and you get a lot of visitors going there, all putting that energy out. And a lot of the times you possibly can create some of these entities. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying they wasn't haunted in the first place, but you could be putting other stuff in there as well.
no,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah,
And,
interesting.
and, and that's a very valid point. It's like take Waverly Hills for a good example. A location
Yeah.
that's on my bucket list. I've never been, but on the fourth, I think it's the fourth floor, they claim to have a creature known as the Creeper.
Hmm.
Um, who is the Creeper? Where did he come from? Someone had to have dubbed it that name. Someone had to have put that energy out into the atmosphere. And the story's been told so many times over the years that people say, hey, that's where the Creeper is. I want to go find the Creeper. Every time you say that, you're putting that energy out into the atmosphere. And once you put that energy out there, you can't take it back.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah. I think that there's something to us as humans. I think we're a lot more powerful than we give ourselves credit for, that most of us give ourselves credit for. Words are powerful. Our energies are powerful. And yeah, I think there's a lot more to us as humans than
Oh
we
yeah.
know. That's
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
and then you got some places that are just so steeped in lore, like throughout the United States. But when you actually go and experience the location for yourself, and nothing happens, you automatically question: Is this place really haunted, or is the story so large that you just happen to believe it? Because
Hmm.
let me tell you, I went to one of the most haunted places, one of the most famous places in the United States. I spent the night at the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast, and I don't know if you know the story of Lizzie Borden or not. Um,
No.
Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41, is how the poem goes. And
Whoa.
it wasn't actually that many. They think she hit her father in the face with the axe while he was sleeping a total of 15 times, and her mother, I think, 12. Um, so it's supposedly one of the most famously haunted places in the U.S. I laid down on the couch where Mr. Borden was murdered. I also slept on the floor in the location where they found Mrs. Borden's body.
Wow.
I experienced nothing the whole night, not even a sound.
Hmm. Interesting.
But
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's because when I go into a place, I go in with an extremely skeptical mindset, even though I'm a firm believer. So
Hmm.
if I heard a noise, I'm not going to instantly think ghost. I'm going to be like, okay, maybe the heater just kicked on. Wait, there's other people here. Maybe someone just walked. That's why I heard the creak in the floorboard. And I get up and go and look. So,
Hmm.
and I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. You're a braver man than me, sir. That's for sure.
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
I'm the
Actually,
biggest wimp.
I'll actually, when we get off the cast, I'll send you the photo of me laying on the couch where Mr. Bod's body was.
Oh wow. Does it not? Because so for me, as you say, and this is probably for most people as well, like, I would be already scared probably. Like, I get scared. I get weird stuff happening in my house, and it freaks me out. As much as I love the paranormal, and I do want to go to all these haunted places, it still does scare me. Do you go in there with not that? There's no fear basically.
Oh no, no, I'm always nervous.
Okay.
And as you can tell from my wall behind me, I've done a lot of podcasts. Before every single podcast, I am nervous. So
Wow.
it's one of those
We
things
don't
where
seem nervous, so that's cool.
I try to compose myself before the actual conversation starts. There's
Mhm.
been a few of them that had me so nervous that I could barely catch my breath when I was talking.
Wow.
But
We ain't got
it
to be
does
nervous
happen.
here, man.
But no, like when I go into a location, I mean, there's always that little bit of apprehension. You're
Hmm.
going to have that because you don't know what you're going to experience. You could go in there, you could experience nothing. And you could go in there and have a night that is like balls to the walls. What the hell just happened?
Hmm.
And, like when I did Sloss Furnaces in Birmingham, Alabama, very known to be haunted. I went in, a little bit of apprehension, constant noises all night. Could not figure out where they were coming from. I would see shadows darting across the walkways. There was a rock thrown at me at one point. Could not figure out where any of this was coming from. Now the noises, my logical mindset, I'm inside of an old foundry, right? Lord knows what in there is making noises. And from someone who builds bridges for a living in a steel shop, I know how noise reverberates. I know how it echoes. And it could have been anything causing that, right? Can I say there was a rock that was thrown at me? No, I believe it was a rock, but let's be honest. A lot of overhanging catwalks. Something just very well could have fell off the catwalk.
Hmm.
So the shadows are what I could not explain.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Shadow figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, freaky stuff, man. Going back to when you was a kid and you started having experiences after your dog passed. Did you and then you went to the next house and the
Yep.
experiences sort of carried on. And then you had the obviously the end where the light bulb smashed and stuff like that. Do you think that was the same entity that was
It,
following
it
you?
I feel like for me, the energy that I felt when I saw the figure standing at the foot of the bed all those years later, it definitely felt like the same entity. I think it followed me.
Hmm.
But
Interesting.
I can't say that for certain, but I can tell you it's a kind of a weird story in that it's more of a I don't believe in coincidences, so I'm just going to call it a synchronicity. That it kind of came full circle because when I was younger, before we bought the house where my dog had died, I lived in the exact same trailer park with my parents. So my parents used to be addicted to drugs. They know I talk about it. They're not ashamed of it. They've got they've done their stuff. They're all clean now. And there was a day that my mother had come home and the whole house was filled with smoke. She started reading from the Bible because she couldn't find any kind of fire. And the smoke backtracked into the ventilation system and disappeared.
Whoa.
My mother, my father, and two other witnesses saw this happen. That
Wow,
was on
man.
now. That was on the same property that the trailer that I lived in when I had my experience was at. It was just a different trailer.
Wow.
So was I just drawn back to that location for some reason? Did it actually all start there?
Yeah.
I really can't say.
Interesting.
But it,
Interesting. How would that happen, man? How would the smoke be? That's just, that's
I, I
wild.
I have no explanation for that because air conditioning vents, they push out stuff. They don't suck it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
I've got nothing for that one. I wish I had been there to see it, but I was in school at the time.
Hmm.
So, but that probably would have been my go-to for boom. I want to know what's going on here, which I always had an interest in the paranormal in school. Matter of fact, my sixth grade book report, I did it on Area 51. Um,
Wow. Yes.
like I told you before the cast, I mean, I research everything, UFOs, cryptids, you name it. I'm a paranormal researcher. I'm not a ghost hunter. I'm not a cryptozoologist. I'm not a ufologist. I am a paranormal researcher. So I
Hmm.
research all aspects of everything unknown.
Yeah.
So that's where I think people get it confused. You have a lot of people out there who just because they go and look for ghosts at a haunted location, oh, I'm a paranormal researcher. Are you though? Because what do you know about UFOs? Oh, well, not much really. I know that they exist or people have seen them. Well, what do you know about cryptids?
Hmm.
Well, not really much. Well, then are you really researching every aspect of everything unknown? What do you know about spontaneous human combustion? What do you know about near-death experiences and the after effects of that? There's so much that goes into being a paranormal researcher that I think really gets underplayed.
100%, man. Because all this stuff seems to be connected, like for
Yeah,
sure. UFOs, cryptid, as you say, like it all seems to come. Even conspiracies, like you can't even ignore the conspiracy side of the world when you look into the paranormal. It's all connected, man. You can't like when I started Let's Get Freaky, I was like, I can't talk about just that and not talk about that. Like it's all connected,
it's
you know?
all interconnected.
Yeah, yeah, man.
And it's really weird because, when you find people that have psychic abilities, now this isn't the case with a lot of them, but some people, they gain psychic abilities after they have a near-death experience.
Hmm.
Why is that? Does something in the brain, maybe in oxygen deprivation of the brain, trigger something up here that they didn't know existed? Or was it that they got so close to the spiritual realm that they now have that psychic connection within their mind, like their third eye has now opened up and they're able to communicate? What is it about having a near-death experience that makes so many people gain this ability that they never even knew they had?
Yeah, 100%, man. I've talked to a few people that have died, come back to life, and as you say, have got all these abilities, new abilities that they didn't have before. I don't know, maybe it's something with seeing the other side, and once you've seen something like that, it changes you. Like you know that there's more going on. Like when you have a paranormal experience, if you see a ghost or something like that, you know that there's more out there. Chances are you're gonna experience more, because
Right,
you're
right.
open to it. That's
Which
just what
also,
I think.
I'm sorry to the listeners and everybody watching. I jump back and forth through topics a lot.
That's
So
cool, man. That's cool. No problem, man. So you had these experiences when you were younger. You saw the. Can you remember what the entity looked like? Can you
it
remember?
was it was literally, I would say, about 6 feet tall,
Hmm.
almost. I don't want to say wispy because it had a human-like shape. But here's the odd thing: is in the darkness, I could see that it was darker than dark, but it had almost an undulating color in a way, like it was almost like a smoky figure, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And no facial features could be seen, no eyes could be seen. It was like a black silhouette that was almost like the waviness of smoke coming out of a bonfire. It was a very strange looking apparition.
Hmm. And you got the impression that that was the hag. You had that knowing, would you say?
I feel like I got that feeling based on the fact that when I woke up, I felt the pressure at my chest and my neck, and I couldn't breathe. I can't say that it was pinning me down, but then again, let's face it, if it is an old hag attack, or some people, they say it's a witch, they don't have to touch you to affect you.
Hmm.
They could just stare at you and affect you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't say it was a hag attack, but that's exactly what it felt like to me after I've done all the years of research and figuring out what the old hag attacks are, and interviewing people who have had these before,
Hmm.
and almost all the accounts are very similar. So I feel like it would be too much for me to discredit it away as a visual hallucination based off of waking up. I feel like there was definitely an entity at the foot of that bed, and I think it was an old hag.
Hmm. Interesting, man. I used to feel like, because for me, it always happened as I was trying to sleep. Whether I was drifting off, I probably was, but I never used to wake up and have the attack. I've only had that a couple of times, but it was normally as I'm going to sleep, trying to sleep, and then I would feel a vibration go through me that was like a nice sensation, and then all of a sudden I was in the attack, and there was this entity was trying to, I would say, get into me. I don't know what it was trying to
Interesting.
do, but I was fighting, I was battling this thing, and I was like shouting at it in my mind, and then yeah, this a very horrible experience every time, and I'd wake up from it and I'd be like, well, I'd say I'd snap out of it, and then I'd be like, oh, what the heck was that, man? And then I would be able to go to sleep, and I didn't always put it down as paranormal. I wasn't sure what I was experiencing really, but yeah, very strange, very strange. Was that the only
Oh,
time you had the paralysis attack?
actually, no. I experienced about a sleep paralysis about 2 months ago in this very bed that I'm sitting in front of. I didn't wake up to a figure this time, luckily,
Hmm.
but I just woke up and couldn't move, and I don't know what caused it. Um, could it have been the fact? I mean, I do have a back issue from a football injury in high school, so could it have been that? Maybe I slept wrong. Maybe I pinched a nerve. So I have to take that into account as well. So I can't really call that paranormal,
Hmm.
but I definitely woke up and could not move.
Man, yeah, it's a horrible sensation. And as you said before, I think there is different types. I think maybe for some cases there is a scientific explanation. And then I do think for other cases, like what we've experienced and what a lot of other people have experienced, there doesn't seem to be a logical explanation.
No, I agree.
Nice, yeah, yeah. And when you've experienced it and you know what's going on, like if
Oh
you're
yeah.
having if you're having a paranormal experience or not, you know what's happening.
Yeah, it's an unmistakable feeling.
Hmm.
So, and anyone who has ever experienced it will tell you the same thing. It is an unmistakable feeling.
Yeah, man. Yeah, terrifying. So you said before you put a lot of stuff on TikTok. As we record this, TikTok went down in the US for half a day yesterday. Was you
Like
worried?
12 hours.
Was you worried?
No.
It was always going to come back.
Well,
But
I wasn't even worried about it coming back.
yeah.
I look at it this way. So many people put so much stock into TikTok to make their living. Yes, I love the content that I make on TikTok. I love the fact that I can push my brand on TikTok because what I do is a little bit unique when it comes to the paranormal. Not everyone can sit down, watch a video, save that video, and then break it down and dissect it step by step, which is what I do. My little 1 to 2 minute videos typically make me about 3 weeks to make one
Hmm.
because I go through every single shot, frame by frame, looking for little tiny discrepancies, film cut errors, shining from strings, all different kinds of things that just don't make sense. So I can tell people, hey, this video that you're seeing, you think it's paranormal, but this is not, and this is why. However, that's my opinion on the video. I would like to hear yours. So I never say that my word is the word of God. I always ask for the opinion because I could be wrong.
Hmm.
But I wasn't afraid of it at all because even if TikTok went down, I still have my YouTube. I'm still gonna make my content. I'm still gonna push my platform. And that was my last TikTok video that I made before it went down. Was I told everyone, you don't have to take my advice, but my advice would be start pushing people to your other platforms in case this disappears.
Hmm.
Because I know a lot of people depend on TikTok for their money. I've never made a dollar on TikTok. So losing TikTok wouldn't have affected my wallet any. It just would have
Hmm.
made my content look a little different because I like using a lot of filters. I like to keep it fun and interesting. So my content just would have looked a little different because I wouldn't have had access to those filters, but it would have been at its core the
Hmm.
same content.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, TikTok's probably out of all the social medias, I use them all, I think, but out of all of them, it's probably one of my least favorites. Sorry to my TikTok people. I do like TikTok, but Instagram's probably my favorite, to be honest. But I still was a bit like, because it didn't happen in the UK, but I'm sure it would have happened if it was something that was staying. But
Right.
I don't like the fact that they can just take something down, as and when they want. I'm a, I'm
No,
a, I'm a real free speech guy. Even stuff that's like that I don't agree with, I still think should be allowed to be out there because I really think free speech is important. So that's
Right.
that's why it bugged me a little bit. But I was glad it came back. It was only 12 hours, so
Yeah, and it's
we can all relax.
it's a free speech factor and it's an economical factor as well if you think about it, because there's so many people that quit their jobs and do the TikTok shop, like
Yeah,
they
man.
push merch, they
Yeah,
sell merch.
yeah.
So as soon as that app went down, all of those people who quit jobs that they may have had for years and started depending on the TikTok shop and their content because they gained somehow, 3 million, 4 million followers when I've been doing this for 4 years and have a little bit over 4,000. Um, some people,
Yeah,
they blow up overnight. It just
yeah,
happens.
for sure. Yeah, man.
But
Yeah.
they had all those followers, they had all that money coming in, so they quit their jobs. As soon as that app went down, guess what? Every single one of them probably shit their pants.
Yeah. No, I would if
Because now,
that was my main income, man.
yeah, that's my main income. So in all actuality, getting rid of the app is a free speech factor, but it's also an economical factor because you just put all of those people out of a job.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I guess, as well, a lot of people get a lot of comfort from social media, which, you can't. I know a lot of people go, oh, it's just TikTok, it's just this. And to most people, yeah, that's fine. But there are people that I guess depend on these apps. And,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's right, but,
And what's funny was you said, oh, it's just an app. It was a friend of mine at work had said that. And I come to walk in today and he's sitting there scrolling through TikTok. And I'm
he
like,
got his back.
what are you doing, dude? He's like, man, I'm trying to kill the next half hour before I have to clock in. I was like, but why TikTok? You said it was just an app. You didn't care if it disappeared. So
Yeah,
what changed in the last week?
he cared.
Oh, he cared.
So getting back to the paranormal, you've seen obviously you say you saw that entity in your room when you was having the attack. You've seen shadow figures. Have you seen anything else? Have you seen any apparitions, full bodied apparitions, anything like that?
Um, Full body apparitions. I can honestly say that anytime I've seen something that I would consider plausibly a full body apparition, I was able to break it down to some kind of reflection and or shadowing. So for me, just because I'm a weird thinker, I can say that I personally have never seen what I would label as a full body apparition other than the shadow figure in my room. That is technically a full body apparition.
Hmm.
Um, I've seen something strange in a field once that I don't think was an animal. That was weird. That was an interesting night. But do
What
you
was
want me
that,
to
man?
do?
You got to tell
Oh,
us. Yeah, 100%.
so I was walking home. I used to stay at my aunt's house a lot because I enjoyed my aunt's company and my cousins were there. We used to have fun. I'd walk home every other day, grab new clothes and stuff. My house was only a quarter mile away from there, so it wasn't that far of a walk. I was probably 17. I'm walking by this huge field that they grow corn in during corn season. Well, corn season has just ended. The stalks were maybe half the height that they would normally be. I get this feeling that I'm being watched. And if you have that feeling when you're walking in the open areas of the world, you get that feeling. It's not very comfortable, especially when it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, they have bears down there, they have bobcats. So who knows what was watching me? I turn and I'm looking around, and over in the field, I see this thing. It's what I'm going to call a thing crouched down. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I could see the eye shine off the streetlight. And I'm like, that does not look like a bobcat. Bears don't crouch like that. I don't know what that is. So I dropped my gym bag that I was going to home to change my clothes in and ran back to my aunt's house, ran inside, and I told my uncle, I was like, hey, there's something over there in that field. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's big and I've never seen anything like it. So he comes out with a spotlight, turns it on. Mind you, the field itself was probably about, I would say, estimate 300 yards long. So about 150 yards away, a spotlight's going to reach a good distance, but not quite that far. But this thing stood up on two legs, and the eye shine was almost like a golden blue. It was really weird. It wasn't like what I would expect to see from an animal in that area. Stood up, and obviously, like I said, about 150 yards away. So size estimate based off the corn stalk is what I'm going off of here. I'm not going off a size to distance comparison because that's just grounds for making a mistake. Going off of the size of the corn stalks, which were probably about 4 feet, I would estimate this thing at about 7.5 feet.
Whoa.
And we watched it walk from the center of the field all the way to the wood line. And Walked off into the wood line. Never saw it again. That was the only time I had ever seen it. And I have walked that particular road hundreds of times at that time in the morning. Never seen anything like it.
Wow. I mean, straight away, I'm thinking Bigfoot. I'm
My
thinking,
thought, my thought,
wow.
if we were further south near the Florida area, I would have said maybe a skunk ape, but there was no smell that I could smell. But then again, I was a good distance away from it.
Hmm.
So maybe if it did smell, the smell didn't permeate as far as I was. But I can tell you that that was a very creepy experience that I've never been able to explain away because there's no known creature that I'm aware of that is that tall and can stand up on its hind legs and walk a good 150 yards.
Man. And that is tall, over 7 foot.
Oh
What
yeah,
what what coloring was the body?
you really couldn't tell, but from what you could tell from the spotlight, it almost looked like a brownish red.
Wow.
So very odd coloration. Definitely not a bear that I would think because I'd have to look into it, but I don't believe there's brown bears down there. They have black bears.
Hmm.
But either way, a bear is not going to get up on its hind legs and walk that far, and it's not going to be
No.
that tall.
Yeah. No. And you say it had like bluish eyes.
Almost like a bluish gold.
Interesting.
When the light hit it, the reflection was almost a bluish gold. It was really, really odd coloration.
Wow. But did you see how wide it was? Could you make out how wide it
It
was?
so my shoulders, if I was over here, the shoulder would probably be about here. So
Whoa. So
give or take, I think probably about three and a half, 4.5, 5 feet ish
what's
estimate.
that's big, man. So seven
But
foot
it was
tall
massive.
and wide. I mean, that fits the description of Bigfoot,
Yeah,
100%.
and that's the only thing I could honestly think that it was. I actually sat down and I was gonna write out a Bigfoot report because there is a team in Alabama that specializes in that.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to be that crazy backwoods guy, that wrote in and said, "Hey, I saw this, but I don't have anything to back it up."
Hmm.
So I did go out there to the field the next day looking for footprints because I wanted to see if I could find anything odd over there. All the corn stalk going back to the woods was all crushed down. But that was the issue. That's why I couldn't find footprints because as it walked, it crushed down the corn stalk so it couldn't get the feet into the dirt. So I think had it been the off season, not just after they had harvested a lot of it, that if it would have just been a dry plain field, then we probably could have found some kind of footprint and maybe had a chance at identifying what it was.
Wow. But you could see that something big had moved through the
Oh
corn.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Whoa.
I'd have to double check my computer. My computer's at my ex's house, but I'm pretty sure I have pictures of the trail going through the corn stalk.
Wow. And was that like a wide trail as well?
Um, so at the base, I would say 3 feet of stalk had been crushed down and almost like as it was walking, you know how they say with crop circles, when you go into a crop circle, the crops interlace.
Hmm.
And that's why they don't think that a lot of these crop circles that you see are faked because there's almost no way plausible to interlace these things. Well, I can tell you that it was one, two, it wasn't interlaced, but you could tell it was an individual footsteps on the way that the actual corn stalks were layered.
Wow. And that's something big. That's big feet.
Oh, that's big. It was huge. Yeah. And it probably about, I don't know, 4 years after that was the only other time I think I saw what might have been a Bigfoot. And I had a witness for that one as well. Me and my ex-wife were driving home from a place called Dothan, Alabama. We were driving down this really dark back road. We're driving. I look off to my right because we're coming up on this bridge that's known to be pretty narrow. And I was like, "Hey, make sure you're watching the side of the bridge up here when you go over. You remember, there's not much pull off there." So I look over and I see this thing standing by the bridge in the headlights, and that one I could see clearly. We go by it about a mile down the road. My ex-wife looks at me. She's like, "I don't want to sound crazy or nothing." I was like, "What?" She's like, "Did you see the Bigfoot standing by the bridge?" I was like,
Wow.
"Why didn't you stop?" She was like, "I don't want to get eaten." Okay, valid point.
Yeah.
Valid point. But I could tell you that based on the estimate of the bridge, I would say that one was about 6.5 feet tall, 3.5, maybe 4 feet wide. It was definitely brownish red fur. That was clear brown red. So, and that's the thing is that perfectly matches the descriptions of the Bigfoot creature that are known to reside in the Alabama area. So I'm not gonna. I have no other way to explain it. Like I said, I saw something that was not normal.
Wow, man. That's such a cool thing to see. One of my goals in life is to see a Bigfoot. Like I am obsessed.
It's
I
it's
would
odd.
love to see that.
It's oddly not as scary as people think it. Well, to some people, it's scary. If you're in the middle of the woods, then yeah, it's probably
Mhm.
scary because you don't know you have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more of a what did I just see adrenaline rush type deal.
Wow,
So
man.
that's when I started researching Bigfoots, was after those two experiences. And that's why I said, I branch off into different aspects based off of things that I've experienced and things that I've seen. Anytime I see something new, which I've never had a near death experience, talking about that earlier, I've never had one of those.
Hmm.
Take that back, actually.
Oh wow.
Another story for another time. I actually have had one. I almost
Wow.
drowned. I almost drowned once. Um,
I'm just going to write that down just in case we
yep.
get there. But can I go back to the Bigfoot that you saw by the bridge?
Mhm.
So that was a reddish color. Was that wide as well? Was that like a wide?
About yeah, about 3.5, 4 feet.
Wow. So big as well. Did you
Oh yeah.
manage to see a face? Did you get any look at the
The
face?
facial so the facial structure, I'll take my hat off for this. Don't let the light blind you. Um, so right here, going down here, almost no hair. Like
Mhm.
all this right here
So
with
around
no hair.
the eyes and around the nose, no
Right,
hair.
right. Around the eyes and around the nose, no hair. No hair around the lips, but the rest of it was fur.
Wow.
It literally looked like what you would picture an oversized red gorilla to look like.
Hmm. Hmm.
Which if you go over to Asia, that's very similar to what they call the orang pendek. So
Yes. Yes.
it's very very similar to that style look. When you look at the drawings of the orang pendek, that's what you would picture the Bigfoot that I saw looked like.
Wow, man. Did you get a sense that this thing was more? And I know this is difficult, but do you think it was more human, more ape? What do you think this thing was?
The the way that the arms looked and the way that they draped down past the waist, more ape, but the posture that it stood in spoke human
Interesting.
because it didn't kind of have that hunched over thing you would expect with an ape. Almost straight up like this thing, like picture a marine standing at attention, like almost straight up, arms came down to about mid thigh on this thing, so very long arms, and I would say more. It's almost 50-50 of both.
Hmm. Interesting, man. Did you guys turn around and go back? Did you try and?
She refused. I tried.
Yeah. Oh,
She once again, she wasn't into that kind of stuff. She just supported me because I did it, but she wasn't into it.
yeah. But
And
it's cool.
unfortunately,
It's cool that you both saw it.
yeah, the fact that I had a witness that saw it was,
Hmm.
was one of the main things. Because typically, when a lot of people see these, they don't have witnesses. They don't have those people that can say, "Hey, yes, I was there.
Hmm.
This
Hmm.
did happen."
Hmm.
And the both times that I got lucky enough to see something, I did have witnesses.
Hmm. Wow. Wow, man. Difficult question as well. What do you think these creatures are? And I know nobody really knows, but what do you think, in your opinion?
So, could they be a form of undiscovered great ape, such as say like a Gigantopithecus? Maybe. Could be. Um, there's a theory out there that they're interdimensional beings, which is why that we've never discovered a body. But think about it though, if they are more human-like than ape-like, and they think more like humans, there's a good possibility that they bury their dead. So no,
Hmm.
of course we're not going
Yeah.
to find a body.
Hmm.
Or there's always possibility that they're out in the wild. We don't know what these creatures eat. Do they cannibalize each other if one dies? You really, there's really no way to tell. Unfortunately, I wish there was, because there's so many different theories on what they are. Some say they're an undiscovered species of apes. Some say they're a surviving colony of Gigantopithecus. Some say they're interdimensional beings. Some say that they're thought forms, even.
Hmm.
So it's so many different wide varieties of theories that really, without the physical DNA evidence or some kind of tangible thing that we can put our hands on,
Hmm.
I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully one day we do. I read an incredible book once, and the book was called Enoch, and I can't remember the lady that wrote. And I told you before, I'm terrible with names, so I'm sorry. But the lady that wrote the book, it was an incredible book, and it was, and in the book, it was a man that I think it was based in Florida, and he had got in with a group of Bigfoot. You know, he was getting close to these creatures, or getting close to one, and eventually, like he started seeing how the family worked, how their unit worked. Incredible book, and in this book, it said that the when the Sasquatch died, they would literally move a tree, and if these things are as powerful as some say they are, then they could do that. Move
Oh
a
yeah.
tree. They would bury their dead and then put the tree back, and there would be. So I just found it very interesting. It was something I'd
That is
never
interesting.
seen anywhere else apart from that book. I'd love
Oh,
I'd love to talk to the lady. I can't believe I forgot her name, but
yeah,
I'd
that
love
would
to.
be a book I would like to check out for
Yeah,
sure.
I'll send it to you, man. It's
Yeah,
super
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Please
Super
do
interesting.
because like I have a paranormal library that probably consists of about 90 books, and I've read every single one of them. So
Yeah.
I mean, like I told you, I research everything,
Hmm.
and reading is one of my things, and that's actually a book I've never heard of.
Yeah,
So
yeah, man. I recommend it. Really good. Because I've read a lot. There's loads of great Bigfoot books out there. This was that stands out because it was quite different. And April something, I think the name is. I'll find it and send it to you anyway, man. But
yeah,
yeah,
please do.
definitely recommend that.
It was actually someone had gotten me this for Christmas because I didn't have it yet.
The United States of Cryptids. Oh yes, that's a bit of me, sir. 100%.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to that one, but I'm in the process of reading two other books at the same time right now, so I'm
Oh
not going to say that. I'm
wow.
gonna try and go for a third.
Yeah, that's difficult. I struggle with one, so.
It's an art form.
Oh, for sure, man. So, in the area that you saw the Sasquatch, how far was that apart? So you saw the one at the bridge, you saw the one on the cornfield. Was that
Oh,
quite
about
was that
no,
close?
no. So distance wise between the two areas was about 45 minutes.
Okay, okay. So
So
if
decently close for a creature that big to be able to move the distance,
hmm hmm
but not close enough for me to personally think that they're correlated.
yeah. Is it one? If you said one was around 7 foot, one was 6 foot, that's slight
Yep,
difference. I know it's hard. It's so hard to call heights on things when you're,
it is.
especially when you're seeing something from a distance, and
It
and
is.
I can't imagine. But
It
yeah,
is,
man.
and I actually did a TikTok about how that works because there was a video that I did on a Mexican creature known as a duende, which I
Hmm.
don't even know why I did that because it's supposed to be a gnome, and one of my only fears in the world is garden gnomes. I don't like them. I think they're creepy. So
Yeah.
keep them away from me. Well, I did this video where I was basically telling people because they're all like, "Oh, this figure looks to be about 3.5, 4 feet tall." Yeah, that would fit the description of the duende until you take into effect that there's a car just down probably 30 to 40 feet from this thing. And if you measure the distance to the height based on where the car sits, you're actually looking at a figure that's about 5'8". Now, in that area of the world, 5'8" is the average height for a woman. So, did you really see a duende, or did you see a woman at a distance? You didn't know what it was because it was dark, so you
Hmm.
filmed it and labeled it that way.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting, man. Yeah, for sure. Going back to your area where you saw the Bigfoot. Sorry,
No, you're good.
I love this, man.
You're good. We
Did
can go wherever you want to take the conversation, brother. I'm here for it.
did you talk to anyone else that had seen a Bigfoot or anything else like that in that same area?
So actually, I talked to the neighbor that lives on the other side of the field. She had lived there for probably 40 years. She said that there was once that she thought she had seen something odd, but she didn't have her glasses on, so she couldn't really say whether or not it was a creature or if someone was just walking through the corn stalks because they used to do that sometimes.
Hmm.
Me and my buddies, my buddy Andrew lived in the woods where that creature walked to. Only thing was I wasn't gonna ask him his opinion of whether or not he had seen it because he was a huge pothead. So he would have probably been like, "Oh yeah, dude, yeah." I I wasn't gonna trust his opinion on it.
Yeah.
But that would have been the only other person that I know of because those were the only two houses on either side of that field.
Hmm. Hmm. Man, cool experience, brother.
Oh, I
As I
loved it.
said, that is one of my. I love all the cryptids, everything, every high strangers. It all fascinates me. But there's something Bigfoot. I think is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm hoping at some point this summer to go up to the White Mountains up here and look into the legend of what we call the devil monkey. which is
Hmm.
apparently some kind of weird monkey creature that lives in the White Mountains. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, yeah. Possibly a Bigfoot, you know?
I, I don't think it's a Bigfoot. Way too small, and
Really?
they live in the trees.
Okay.
So
I, you do hear and
yeah,
I'm not saying Bigfoot, but I mean, some say they are Bigfoot, but like live in the trees. And I don't know if you saw, there was a video that went out recently of a gentleman, I think it was in
I
Georgia. I'm not
just
sure. Was it in?
I just noticed your plaque behind you. By the way, the Sasquatch alert. I just
Yeah,
saw that.
that's it, man. Yeah, 100%.
Nice. But
Sas,
anyway,
Sasquatch
George.
alert.
Yeah, so Georgia. I wasn't trying to interrupt you. Sorry about that.
Now, I can't remember where it was, but there was a gentleman filming. He was in his backyard and he was filming up into the trees, and there was something big in the trees. Like you didn't really get a clear shot of what it was, but it was definitely moving the trees, and whatever it was big.
So was this the video of the tops of the trees swaying and then some of the branches broke off?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
And
Yeah.
that's on my breakdown list. So
Oh, wait, have you seen that one? Have you
I
seen that yet?
haven't I have, and it's on my list to start analyzing within the next few weeks.
Oh, okay. Interesting, man. I'll be interested in what you think. It's
It
hard to
definitely
tell.
it's intriguing, but it's very difficult to tell because you really can't see what's in the trees. That's the problem. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping when I do my process and I start doing my still framing, maybe I'll see a spot where the branches open up, but you can't see it in regular time because it just happens so quick that
Yeah.
maybe I can get a small glimpse of whatever's in that tree.
Yeah. That would be cool. I think the gentleman filming said that he said it looked like a giant gorilla. I'm sure that was the description he gave. But yeah, you can't really see it from the video. But if you can get a shot of something, that would be amazing, man.
Oh, I'm hoping I can, but let's be honest. That video where it's being shot, and those trees were pretty bushy. So
Yeah, for sure.
and with the movement, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get anything clear, but it is on my list to look at. So
Yeah. But that's the thing. I don't think a person could do that. I mean, I'm not
no,
sure. I'm no expert in that sort of thing, but I don't know if like me and you could get up in a tree and make that sort of movement. I don't think
I
we
don't
could.
I don't believe so either, and that's why the video caught my curiosity the way it did.
Hmm.
Because there are several videos on my channel that I straight tell people I cannot explain this. There's something going on here that is outside of the realm of my comprehension.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping that this is going to be one of those cases.
Yeah.
Because right now, I don't see any way plausible a human, unless they were a bodybuilder,
Hmm.
would be able
Yeah.
to move trees in that manner.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be a strong dude or a few strong dudes to do something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, interesting, man. That's an interesting one. Have you experienced anything else strange? Any other paranormal experiences that stand out to
Uh,
you? I'm sure
when
there's a
I
lot.
was when I was probably 7 or 8, one of the first paranormal experiences I remember, and it happened relatively quickly. The first and only time I believe I've ever seen a UFO.
Okay.
Um, we were coming down from a place called Barrington, New Hampshire, and we were in a back road area, pretty dark. You could see all the stars, so everything was pretty well lit. You know, as far as the night sky, not the road, the night sky. So my father was driving and he saw something odd. So he pulled over and he was like, "Hey, is everyone else seeing that?" And you see this ball of light that was definitely about triple the size of all the other stars in the sky. It came up and then took an almost 90-degree turn, which I know it, especially back then in the early 90s, and even now, there's no aircraft that can make that form of a corner, not that sharp. And
Mhm.
as soon as it took that corner, it kind of slowed down a little bit and then gone.
Whoa. Whoa.
And I remember that experience clear as day. It stuck with me. And that's
Yeah.
actually that experience is part of the reason in 7th grade that I did my book report on Area 51.
Yeah, man. I mean, the way as you explained it, shooting off, there's nothing that can do that at all.
No,
You
no,
know,
not
can't be anything that we have.
no. And I'm not going to say that when it took that corner and it slowed down, I don't think it came to a stop, if I recollect correctly. It did slow down,
Hmm.
but was that maybe that slowdown getting the engines like a hypercharge so it could shoot off?
Hmm.
Because sometimes you need to be able to build up that energy within your engine to do that. That's I, I don't know what it was,
Yeah.
but it definitely was not something that you should be seeing in the night sky.
I know this is difficult, especially with stuff like that, but do you get a rough estimate of what size it could be? I know that's
That
tough.
that one I could not, specifically because A, I was so young, so I didn't look at it from an analytical mindset at that time. But what I can tell you is if you look up at the sky, right, like if you go outside on a perfectly starry night, take any star you see that's really bright, not a satellite because those are typically a little bit bigger. But you look at a star, double the size, and that's about the size that it was.
Interesting. So
But
for
was it that size because the ship was that big, or was it that size because it was closer to the Earth and the star was away? So once again, a distance to size comparison issue there.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, but it's hard to tell with things in the sky. It
It
really
is.
is. It's hard because obviously we don't. Like I saw tonight, I saw a huge because it's where I am right now in the UK. It's been very cloudy and a little bit rainy today, and you can't really see stars. There's no stars out, obviously, but I could see this like shining, looked like a really bright star, and I was like, "What's that? Why is that there when there's no stars out?" And I made my friend who's got an app on his phone that he can point to the sky and it tells you what's planets and stuff are there. And he said
Oh,
it
oh,
was
like an astrological chart app.
yeah, yeah, and he said it was. I can't remember what planet he said it was, but he said it was one of the planets. And I was like, that's weird though, because it's like there must have been a little gap in the clouds so we could see that just that one planet, but it looked
That
very
is
low
odd.
down. Yeah, but I don't know. I've seen a lot of weird things in the sky, man. A lot of strange stuff. I think when you look for this stuff, you do see it. I do think that
Oh yeah.
you spend a lot of time looking into it. You know, as you know, the paranormal. You look into the paranormal, it looks
Oh yeah.
back.
And
Uh,
during the summer months, I like being out in my backyard over here because my backyard, my bedroom window overlooks the oldest cemetery in the town. I picked this bedroom for a reason, and I know
Man,
I'm weird. You could say it. I'm
that's
weird.
cool. Not on this show. You're not weird on this show.
I actually got a parabolic microphone, a parabolic dish for Christmas that I plan on during the summer because it's too damn cold to do it right now. Opening up the windows and seeing what I can hear out in the cemetery at night.
Oh, wow.
That's that's probably one of those curiosity killed the cat type deals, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I am that curious.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but out back here, you got a decent sized field, and you can lay down, look up at, it, and you can see every single star. So my curiosity would be with how clear it's been here, and with all that drone activity that was happening a few months ago in the northeast area.
hmm
I'm curious if I go out there and just lay down and just watch the sky,
Yeah,
am I going to see something?
yeah. I'm sure you will, man. I tell
I'm
a lot of
hoping so.
people to just look out, and you will see weird stuff that you can't explain. So you've got a haunted doll in your cupboard, and you're facing a cemetery as well.
Oh yeah.
That's a freaky room, brother.
But what can I say?
Do you get other activity going on in the house that you're in now? Is there other weird
Um,
things going on?
oh yeah, oh yeah. So one of the objects that I brought from my old house that I used to live in, we used to have a dirt basement, and got curious one day, went down there with a metal detector. Dirt basement, house was built in 1908. Who the hell knows what's in the floor? I found an old cast iron baseball figurine. You can't tell who it is, but you can tell it's a baseball figurine because half the arms are missing, but you could tell he's kind of like this, where he's about to swing a bat. Did an app test with this thing, and it told me to rebury it. Basically, when I was down in the basement, the app said picture. I was using the iOvilus app. And this is actually, you can see this live on my iOvilus test on YouTube, where it says picture. I was like, what? Do you want me to take a picture? So I closed down the app because I'm doing a screen recording, so you're able to watch it in real time. I start taking pictures of the basement. Going through the pictures, I don't see anything, don't see anything. Wait a minute, and I go back. The exact spot where I dug up the figurine from, there was a mist coming across the floor. And it was the only thing anomalous in, I think I took 20 photos. It was the only thing anomalous in the photos. But the odd thing was the correlation of the fact that it said toy, it said picture. I took a picture. There's a mist in the spot where I found the figurine, and the next word we got from the app said replace.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I think something was upset that I took it.
Yeah, man.
So I gave it to my father for a week just to see what would happen because I'm a little bit of a dick. So I so I gave it to my father, and he had it sitting on the mantelpiece in the living room, right? He got up for work one day, everything on the mantelpiece was on the floor. They never heard any of it fall. but it was all on the floor. And he was like, "Oh, well, we must have had a small earthquake or something overnight," because he was telling me about it at work the next day because we work at the same place. And I was like, "Well, what about the mantle in the kitchen?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "All of mom's shot glass collection, was that still on the mantle?" He said, "Well, yeah, it was still on the mantle. Why?" I said, "Because if you had a small earthquake, wouldn't have that have came off too?"
Hmm.
And he said,
Yeah.
"I didn't think about that." So I currently have that in my possession in this room too.
Man,
Uh,
you're definitely
but
braver than me, brother.
but some of the other stuff in this house that we've experienced, the staircase right behind me, you'll
Hmm.
hear footsteps going up and down the staircase all hours of the night. Um, you'll see shadows at the bottom of the stairs. Sometimes if you're standing in the kitchen, you'll see a figure walk by the window in the driveway, and you go out there to look, no one's there. The ring cameras will go off for no reason, saying that someone's at the door when no one's at the door. Um, Sometimes you will hear voices. Me and my mother were pretty freaked out when we were downstairs talking about probably about 3, 4 weeks ago. We're downstairs talking, and all you hear is this voice says, "Want to play?" And
Whoa,
I was like, it was clear because she looked at me. She was like, "Why did you just ask me if I wanted to play?" And I'm like, "I didn't ask you that. That came from the kitchen."
bro.
And so I went to the kitchen. No one was in there. I had just taken my son home, so I knew it wasn't him. But yeah, there's definitely activity in this house as well.
Whoa. I was going to say, does it scare you? But I think I know the answer to that. I don't think it does.
It depends. It depends. Because there has been a few times where I was not expecting it.
Hmm.
Like last year, around Thanksgiving last year, I came up here and stayed the night. At that point in time, I was still living with my ex. I come up here, I stay the night because I was drinking and I wasn't gonna go home. And this could have been because I was drinking. I don't know. But I went down the staircase, right? And I go to turn the staircase to go to the bathroom face to face with an old lady. She was
Whoa,
she was there and gone.
bro.
That almost made me shit myself.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man.
The only other time I've ever been afraid like that was a little town named Elba, Alabama, down in Coffee County, right? So Elba Jail was the old Coffee County Jail. My team was asked by the Chamber of Commerce to come in and investigate activities going within the jail, which was closed down and renovated into a haunted house attraction. So it was run by a company called the JCs, which is a nonprofit organization down in that area. They were getting compliments about the actor in the back of the jail where no actor was. So they said that guy was so realistic. He was so scary. Like and the owner who was at the end telling everybody, thank you for coming to the haunted house and all that. Every time he got a compliment, he said, "There's no one in that area. So I don't know
Whoa.
what you saw."
How were the people reacting to that when they found out there was no one there?
They said they wouldn't go back. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
You went to a haunted attraction. You went to a haunted house. What better place to hold a haunted attraction than in an actual haunted location? I'm sorry. You go there to see a ghost. You saw a ghost. That's
Yeah.
money well spent.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But so we get called in to investigate this place because the owner of the JCs wanted to know what was going on. We show up, and I didn't know anything about the correlation of the date until I started doing research. So we booked the date. I'm like, okay, cool. We got a date. We got a time. Start digging into the history of the jail. And that's when I found out that in this jail, over the course of the time that it was open, 16 people died. There were several people that died during a flood because the town was known for flooding. They couldn't get up to the roof quick enough. And there was, I think, 12 people that died during that flood. There was a guy who fell asleep with a cigarette in his mouth, lit his bed on fire, and he burnt to death. Um, but the most notable death was a guy named Sheriff Neil Grantham. Sheriff Neil Grantham was shot to death on the front steps of the prison by an inmate that he had released the day before. I did not know that when we booked the date that we were investigating the jail on the 20th anniversary of his shooting to the day.
Whoa. Oh, wow.
So we go in this place and you got what's called a bullpen set up upstairs. It's basically like an open set area with a bunch of bunks because they were nonviolent. It was a nonviolent prison, nonviolent jail.
Hmm.
Downstairs, you had your three, I think there were one, two, yeah, so quadruple bunks. You could fit 4 people in there. And that was their drunk tank. That's when the people came in, you're drunk, boom, in the drunk tank. One solitary cell, one solitary confinement cell. Okay, so It took four of us and 3 cans of WD-40 lubricant to get this door open because it hadn't been opened in so long. The hinges were so rusted that we could not get this door open. When you open the door, you can tell the thing weighs a good 60, 70 pounds. This door is solid. I have a camera station on the back side of the door. I have a camera station on the front side of the door looking into the cell. I go into the cell to do EVP work. I'm in the cell probably 15, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden I hear this cock, and it's dark. The cell door slams shut by itself.
Man.
And keep in mind what I just told you. 4 people and all of that lubricant to get that door to open. The wind didn't shut it. I was stuck in there for an hour. And once again, I'm going to call it a synchronicity, but this is a very common thing in the paranormal. When that door slammed shut, both cameras I had focused on it, batteries died.
Wow. How often do you hear that in the paranormal?
A lot. Because
100%.
they say they're collecting the energy from it, in order to act out. And I don't, you know what? And considering the fact, and this is my theory on it, considering the fact that we were investigating 20 years to the day of the death of Neil Grantham, maybe Neil Grantham saw the cell door was open and there was an inmate in there because I was in there doing EVP work. And he was like,
Yeah.
why is that open? And angrily shut it.
Whoa. Yeah. Oh, that must have been terrifying, man. Knowing how hard it was to get it open, that must have been so terrifying.
That was honestly one of the few times in my paranormal career where I was like, I'm not sure I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Because that was absolutely one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced.
Yeah. Well, I'm prone to get a little bit claustrophobic, so that would be claustrophobic for sure.
Luckily for me, I'm not claustrophobic. I am afraid of heights. But when I went to investigate the St. Augustine Lighthouse in St. Augustine, Florida, which is another very famous location, I made sure that I climbed up to the top, even though I had a fear of heights. And I did not walk around the 360-degree view on the top, but I damn sure crawled it. I got on my hands and knees and I crawled around it because they have this certificate, which I have it framed and it's here somewhere, where if you climb all 277 steps, they will give you a certificate if you go onto the 360 catwalk and walk around it. I got to the door and about collapsed. And the guy was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I said, "Look, I'm deathly afraid of heights, but I want this certificate." I was like, "Can I crawl it? Can I crawl it?" He was like, "You're going to look like an idiot." I said, "I don't care. I didn't just climb all these steps for no reason." So I went, did that.
And you got it.
And then later on that day, I was back there and I was doing the museum on site and we were doing the lighthouse. Very fun investigation. Noises all over the place throughout the Maritime Museum. In the actual lighthouse itself, few of us thought, I was not privy to this because I didn't experience it, but a few people thought that they saw a shadow figure walking up the staircase. Didn't capture really much evidence physically wise in the actual lighthouse itself. Decent amount of EVP in the actual Maritime Museum though. So overall, it wasn't a bad investigation.
Interesting, man. I want to go back to the old lady that you saw when you'd had a drink and you came face to face with. Did it just disappear or?
So I came around the corner, right? Came around the corner and I would say this far from my face and had a bonnet, like an old school style, like 1800s bonnet. And I could see wrinkles, had glasses. It was there for maybe 30 seconds and it just disappeared right in front of my face, like in a flash, gone.
Whoa.
It's almost like, you ever seen the movie 13 Ghosts?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know how they just flash on occasion where they're just like right there and then gone?
Yeah.
Very similar. Almost very similar to that.
Interesting. Man.
It was like, turn the corner, oh, gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Has anyone else in the house seen anything like that or that same entity?
Yes, my mother has not seen the entity itself, but she sees the figures walking down the driveway all the time. She also hears the footsteps going through the kitchen, which I've heard. My brother, who sleeps up here on this floor, he hears the footsteps going down the staircase. So everyone in this house knows there's something here. We've all experienced something strange.
Yeah.
But as a rule of thumb, you don't investigate your own house. You don't investigate where you live.
Yeah. Sometimes you have no choice.
I just hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Oh,
Trust
it's
me,
awesome stuff.
I have full plans on it. I just hadn't gotten there yet because, well, season 2 of the app test is coming out. And technically, when I'm testing apps, I'm investigating and I need a place to do it. So I hate it for them.
There you
We're
go.
going to find out what's here.
Awesome stuff, brother. Difficult question, and I'll round this up now because I know we've gone over
Okay.
our time. Um, and this is a tough question, and it's a question I ask everyone, and you could give me a lot of different answers because I know that nobody really knows. But what do you think is going on with the paranormal? And I know that's a wild question because we don't fully know. But what at the moment, what do you think is happening? What do you think we're
Uh,
experiencing?
Um, so for me, just to be clear, because I could have taken that question in 5 or 6 different directions. Are we talking about the
Yeah.
state of the paranormal as far as paradrama, or are we
Wh-
talking about the actual paranormal
So
itself and
so
what we're
with
experiencing in the field?
entities and things like that, what do you think they are? Where do you think they're coming from? What is your general opinion on the paranormal?
See, I actually like this question, and for me, this isn't too difficult of a one to answer. So I have a firm belief that a lot of what we experience, from my experience and my theories, is what's called a temporary time slip. I think we are seeing figures that are on another dimension. That's why a lot of them can't interact with us. They don't even know we're there because we're kind of looking from the outside because the timing is just right. That we happen to see on maybe a different side of the veil. Maybe they see us as ghosts from time to time. So is it possible that, because if you go by the theory of relativity, there's multiple dimensions on top of one another. It's a
Hmm.
staggered dimension. So why would there be no way possible that those dimensions can temporarily overlap if the circumstances are perfect? And you could see what we would refer to as a spirit or a ghost.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're lucky enough to capture them on camera. I know, I believe it's in the UK. One of the most famous ghost photos ever, the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. Um,
Hmm.
very famous photograph. Um, what's to say that we just have not yet figured out how we can look into that at a constant basis? And that's why the paranormal as it sits right now for me is going to always be nothing more than a pseudoscience until you can take this field, put it into a scientific environment, and then run tests and hypotheses with a control element. There's no way possible that you can say that this will ever be a legitimate form of science because we can't sit here and recreate it over and over and over again. It happens when it wants to,
Hmm.
which also kind of leads credibility to my thought on this possibly being time slip entities, as I will call them. It's entities, but they're really just people that are existing on a different frame of time that just happen to overlap into ours.
Hmm. Interesting, man. So possibly there's people like when we see a ghost or a shadow figure, they're seeing us and they're doing a podcast somewhere in another dimension where they're like, I saw this ginger dude, he had a ginger beard. He stared at me, he screamed.
Right.
Possibly,
So
possibly.
it's very possible.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting stuff, man. I've loved talking to you tonight, brother. Thank you so much.
No, I had a
You're
great
welcome back
time, man.
anytime. You're welcome back
Any
anytime. I feel like there's more we can talk about for sure.
oh, we could definitely figure some stuff out. But
Yeah.
anytime you want to have me back, man, you just shoot me a DM. We'll get it worked out. I enjoyed the conversation and I greatly appreciate you allowing me to come on and chat with you.
No, it's been an honor, man. Thank you very much. Can you tell the
Absolutely.
listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Nathaniel Elwell. You can find me on Instagram at, I think it's Nate Elwell on Instagram. My YouTube is going to be static_voices, and my TikTok is at static voices, and that's going to be the main platforms that I post on.
Awesome, brother. Awesome, man.
And and,
Well,
and I also got one more thing. I also got a few events coming up this year. So if you are out and about, you see this podcast, and if I'm in your state and you want to meet me in person, just follow me on Facebook. I'm going to be constantly updating that. In July, I'll be in Wisconsin. So that's going to be interesting. I'll be in Connecticut this year. I'm going to be in Massachusetts twice. I'll be in Pennsylvania twice. So I'm going to be all over the place.
awesome, man. You're getting out there, brother. I love it. I love it.
Working
Oh,
on it.
awesome stuff, man. Well, I'll share the links in the show description so people can find you easily. And yeah, man, this is the first of many conversations, hopefully. So thank you so much, sir.
Absolutely. And anytime, like I said, anytime you want me back, you just let me know. We'll schedule it up.
Top man. Thank you very much. Guys, if you've enjoyed the episode, make sure you share it where you can. That is a great way to support us. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, if you have paranormal, wild experiences to share, we'd love to hear them. Get in touch. Email let's get freaky podcast at mail.com. at mail.com, not Gmail, at mail. That is just an email that I've set up just for people to get in touch that would like to be a guest on the show. For the time being, that is the place to do it. Or you can message us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, if it's still around, YouTube, X, wherever you find us. Message us there as well. And thank you very much for listening. We'll be back very soon for more freaky conversations. In the meantime, stay safe and keep it freaky. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.